we'll get started. Coach, we'll give it a big signal.
Another big weekend. I think the crowd, the excitement of everything going on within the weekend. Marching Chiefs will be here. That's going to be really spectacular, as always, to think of how that has evolved and what it means to the team, the community, the fans. I think college baseball in general benefits from their impact in our games. Duke's good. Duke likes to run the bases. We have our hands full. They have beaten very capable teams. Corey does a good job. He was at Wake Forest and ran the pitching, and now he's running the show at Duke. A lot of transfers. Anytime there's coaching changes, and even quite frankly when there's not, there's a lot of movement within the roster. We know that. They had it. They're pressure oriented. They're very good at the run game. They continue to do it and force you to handle things. So we're going to have to be the best version of ourselves in all phases, but specifically in management of that aspect of how they run. I like the way our starting pitching has continued to develop, I guess is the right word, and how they've performed. Ultimately, at this point, the performance and the production is the most important thing, and the development continues to move forward as you grasp the outings, the pitches, the visual things, how hitters respond to pitches. So Micah does a beautiful job with all of these guys, and I do like the progression of the bullpen. It was good to see Purcell finally be back to what we knew he could be for the program. Johnny has been very consistent. Kinnear has had really good flashes, and Meeble continues to come along, and Stokes and O'Leary finding the right way to get them in there and help them learn themselves and how to navigate and how to keep pitches in the zone. And then at times the pitches need to be out of the zone, and I think that's what got O'Leary on Tuesday. So I feel like the guys are in a good space overall. The schedule, again, to this point, I spoke on this last night. I don't dig into the metrics of strength of schedules. I know in my 26 years of this has been a fairly consistent, challenging schedule. Home, road, neutral sites, it's been a challenge. And I think we're doing some things well. There's clearly things at the plate at times where we appear ill-equipped and a little bit overmatched, but we knew this team was built on strength of starting pitching, enough in the bullpen to hold it together. And I think our defense has been sound. I don't think it has been exceptional. So if we can ever, and we've done it, when these three things, the defensive capabilities, fundamentally and above average playmaking, a little bit more complete offensive package, and then the pitching, when we do those things, I feel like our team has performed pretty well. We can't afford backdowns in any one of those areas, and if you have misfires in multiple of those areas, you're going to find yourself in a mess, as we have from time to time. But overall, proud of the grit. Last weekend's response after Friday night and leaving the stadium, feeling like you had tough game, but game in control. We were leading the game, entering the later innings, and to not win that, and then watch the response on Saturday, and then how they performed on Sunday was really good. Tuesday was tough. The conditions were very unusual. It was wet. It was blowing 30 miles an hour in. The fly balls were, you saw it, virtually impossible to manage. The ground balls were tough. For a game of that caliber to be played in those conditions, just not what you want. And they played a great game. McNeely and Barberi, the last 6 innings, you're 96, 99, good breaking pitches. And they deserved to win that game. So that was tough, and we're going to have to shake that just as we did the Friday night NC State game and regroup a little bit and go execute and be the best version of us to handle Duke.
What does Aiden Weaver bring to the mouth as far as second cable?
Just great extension, good stuff, velocity, and really gets down the mound. It's exceptional reach and extension. So the velocity's good in itself, mid-90s, but I think because of the reach and the extension, it feels beyond that. So our guys are going to have to hang in there. The slider and changeup are good. I do think the extension. I was watching a game last night, one of the lefties for the Yankees. They kept talking about the extension, and it's not the velocity. It's just the shortness and the compression of the timing you have because of how far he gets down the mat. When you're talking 7 feet of extension, like that's that's out there. So the velocity plays up, the decision making shrinks a little bit just because of how far down the mound he climbs.
You mentioned a couple of times in the last 2 weeks about just wanting some cleaner defense. And we have Duke coming to town with so much on the base stats. I mean, how important is it to kind of make things sharp?
Yeah, I mean, it's critical. We've got to manage it. That starts, everything we do starts on the mound. It does. They have the ball. They control a lot of what we do. And then the pitch execution, if you can perform properly in that aspect, you're going to limit the base running opportunities. That's really the name of the game. Then, we work on this all year. It's just the different looks and holds and the timing. And, obviously the pick stuff does factor in, but if you're relying on that, you're probably late to the dance. So the management of the timing, the look, the picks, the times to the plate, the variety of all of that, and then the catch and throw behind the plate, the catch, tack, and the infield. That's why people force the run game, because it does create some added pressure to teams. And the number one way to stop it is to really pitch well and play good defense to limit the pure opportunities that they have. So it starts there. But they're very good at it. When you look at I think they're 115, 116 attempts at this point. If you string that out, the number of attempts would be something that I really don't think I've seen. If the ratio of it per game continues through a 60-plus game schedule. It's impressive.
Going into the city, you talked a lot about most very inclined to see where this team was at 6 or so weeks in. How would they handle that?
I think a little better. It is still a concern. And there's parts of the team that are very young. So when I talk emotional maturity, and some of it in general is just experience and immaturity in games of this caliber. The biggest step these players will ever take is from what they've seen in high school into this. And when I was watching the Giants and the Yankees, the back end of that game last night, the velocities and the stuff, they execute at a very high level. But to go from what you see in high school to what we've seen this season with the velocities, just the experience and handling the ups and downs of how that feels, especially at the plate, I think more than anything else, it's the biggest step you'll ever take as a player. Once you get from this level beyond, then it's the execution and the sequencing and the pitch recognition and some of those things. I don't think the huge jump in stuff really ever occurs to this level again. So sometimes just the experience and the maturity and the reaction to it is what I'm concerned with the younger, especially the position players. And then the pace of the game and the speed of the game, be it how the young freshman, sophomore group plays defense, how they run the bases, what we're asking some of these guys to try to do on the bases, the ones that can actually run. And sometimes we're asking guys to be in motion that might not be in a base stealing capacity at the time. So the experience and the reaction to what's going on with the speed of the game in those other areas, if you grasp that, then I worry less about the emotional reaction and how long it takes you to regroup from something you haven't experienced yet. And then how do you regroup? So that's the part that I have seen growth if we do. And is it a concern? Sure. Like as we get down the stretch of this and the magnitude and the ramifications of the performance continues to escalate, then the emotion and the regroup and staying focused becomes, again, something that they haven't experienced before in the younger position player capacity.
Now that Bryson's kind of been in that Sunday role for a month now, after he had to what's about with the beer situation, just kind of seems like he's been a consistent anchor to the back of the weekends for you guys. What do you see from him that's allowed him to continually have these?
I think he's confident now in what it feels like to start. And he battled some things at Virginia to get over the hump and feel comfortable and feel healthy. And the fastball location and staying down in the zone, he can go up, but I think this starts for him down. We saw him last week. It was the best execution of the fastball to both sides of the plate, down. If he needed it up, he was doing that. The use of the changeup, I think he's more comfortable with that. And then the three breaking pitches, we've seen all of them functioned well at times. Now, if you ask any pitcher that throws that many different pitches, how often you've got great fastball come in, great cutter come in, sweeper, curveball, changeup, they probably would tell you it's rare. So then when you're throwing that many breaking pitches, what actually feels right to you that day on the mound? And you can't really predict that going in. You hope it all does, but maybe someday that putter feels really good. And then someday the slider sweeper feels right. And then there's other days the bigger curveball feels good. And Micah has to play off of what's working. So I think that marriage of Micah learning Bryson being more confident in himself, and just the overall execution has produced a better result.
So you have Miles and some of the pitches in the last few games where either intentionally walking anywhere, cutting out, trying to challenge him. I've seen him react to that, kind of handle that. I'm sure he knows it's coming at this point.
Yeah, I feel like he's advanced enough and mature enough to understand what's going on. And when he is forced into, hey, we're pitching to you, you just want him to stay within himself and not feel like he's waiting 8 at-bats to really have a normal at-bat. So I haven't seen any change out of him, and I hope we don't. And it's nice that the guys behind him have delivered. And sometimes you have a really good at-bat, and you hit the ball hard, you make good decisions of what you swing at, and the result isn't always in your favor. Like that, when you can line out, you can fly out, you can hammer a ball and hit into a double play. So you just want the quality of what happens after him. Whether they walk him or whether he gets a double, you just want the length. I've talked about it, just the overall length in the lineup and the consistency of the at-bat. I still think that's the carrying card to a good quality team, top to bottom of the lineup. And we've seen that group of personnel has changed for quite a bit, from who that's where. But if that crowd can go up there and give you quality at-bats, if they decide to pitch around Miles at times, and in the moment, it's a big deal. But if the rest of the crowd does what they're supposed to do, then it just kind of blends in with the game. Other than people want to see him hit, see him swing, and we all do. And that's part of the game.
And so balance with Cal and Eli about being supportive with some of their fielding mistakes. Some of those plays are tough, taking tough hops. Being supportive versus being critical, and you could have done this, you could have done that type of thing.
Yeah, you always pick your moments to try to instruct. And I know I came off the field, I made more errors than anybody in this building ever has. So when do you approach things that happened so that they're emotional and sometimes upset? Like, you go out there and have some of those things happen to run off the field and have me try to get into instructor mode, and I'm going to super coach you up right here in the dugout and talk about the double play feed or the pop up or the back end. Sometimes I let them simmer down a little bit, and they know in most cases what the technical mistake might have been, and we review it. And then today at practice, like, we have sequences of drills that we do. So without me even forcing reviews of specific things, they're going to get their reps at everything we've seen them struggle with. The stuff in the middle infield, there's more pressure. I watched the game last night. The Yankees guy took a weird hop late in the game and then had another one on the slow roller. Once it challenges you, it seems like in the infield that ball is going to find you again and again. And when things are going great, it doesn't always feel like it presses you immediately, but when it's not going well, you better be ready, because it's coming at you again. So they've given us a good effort. They're both playing positions that they hadn't played at this level a ton. And I know specifically the things that each of them need to work on. So as we go through our practices and our days, I do try to cater some of the things over and over that I know each individual needs work on, that's just blended in to the work that we do. So the effort's there, in the execution, the skill is hopefully going to match the effort that they put into. Putnam took a ground ball. Somebody tried to field one and it kicked off him, hit him in the face. So that's why you see him all beat up. So he had a tough week. That happened right before the game on Friday, I believe. So he played with the stuff going on. And he's okay, but that doesn't mean it's pleasant.